I've literally been waiting for 2 months just to receive this right here. Hello guys, and welcome to a brand new video on the channel. I'm Chevaughn Beckford, and in this week's video I will be talking about the Panasonic Lumix S 85mm f1.8 prime lens. Now, I ordered this lens from way back in December and it just got here this week. I was so excited for it to arrive. I wanted to test it out because it would be my first prime lens for the Lumix S5 that I bought earlier this year. Now, I mainly purchased this lens to improve my portrait photography and also my product photography. I may use it for a couple videos because I only have the 20 to 60mm kit lens that came with the camera, apart from this lens that recently came. Now, even though 85mm is kind of tight for videos, it can still work. All you have to do is step back a little, get the microphone on the client, get some lights and start shooting, because it has a f1.8 aperture opposed to the 20 to 60mm that I have, which I use to create videos currently because of its wide angle down at the 20 to 60. I normally use about 30 to 50 right about there to create my videos, and I normally use an aperture of about 4 to 5. If I go down to 20mm, I will use the 3.5, but you know that is very wide and you will have some distortions when it comes to the edges of the videos. Now, the 85mm so far, it's a superb lens. It's the best lens I've owned since I started getting cameras, especially for my photography. I have a Nikon which I used to use for photography, but I had an 18 to 55mm and a 70 to 200mm telephoto lens. So this is literally my first ever prime lens for a camera. And for my full frame camera, which is the Lumix S5, it's the perfect combination because the Lumix S5 is a very capable, it's a powerful yet light and affordable camera, and the 85mm prime lens fits in the same category. It's powerful, it's light, and it's affordable. You can get the 85mm on Amazon for around 600 USD currently, opposed to the 24mm, which is wide mainly for videos and close-up photography. It's over $800 if I'm correct. The cheapest of the batch of S lenses for the L-mount Panasonic lineup is, I think it's the 50mm, which is about $450, but the S 85mm f1.8 lens paired with the Panasonic Lumix S5 is the perfect combo for taking beautiful and stunning portrait shots. Now, enough chit chat about the lens and how much I love it and was waiting on it. Let's dive into some specs about this lens right here. Now, the price of the Panasonic Lumix S 85mm f1.8 is $600 on Amazon, and the weight 355 grams. It has an aperture of f1.8 at maximum and f22 at minimum. It has weather sealing, a 67mm filter thread, and is made with a magnesium alloy. For the price point, there's not much to hate about this lens. One of the key things that I love about this lens is the fact that it has a 67mm filter thread at the top, because the Lumix S 24mm, 35mm, and 50mm prime lenses also have a 67mm filter thread. My Lumix S 20 to 60mm is also a 67mm filter thread. So if I decide to get all those Lumix S lenses L mount, I will have the same filter thread and just buy one set of filters to fit all lenses, which will save me a lot in spending. I mentioned earlier how lightweight this lens is, and trust me, it's very light. It feels as if there's nothing in my hand. It's almost the same weight as the Lumix 20 to 60mm kit lens that came with the camera. I think the 20 to 60mm kit lens is a bit heavier. I will show the mass up here somewhere on the screen. The S85mm f1.8 is also very sharp. It's tacked sharp. ideal for portraits, but not too sharp, even though you can dial around and adjust your sharpness in post if something is too sharp. But if something is not sharp enough, that will pose a challenge whenever you're editing. I didn't experience any chromatic aberration when using this lens for the very few shoots I did with it. I did about 4 shoots with it so far. I doubt I took over 100 photos using this lens, but there was no chromatic aberration or major distortions in any of the photos that I captured using this lens. Even though I didn't test the video capability of this lens as yet, the autofocus and the focusing overall for this lens was pretty accurate. Once I lock it onto the subject, it will stay on the subject unless in extreme conditions. I don't have to worry about retapping the subject because the tracking has been lost, or having to squeeze down on the shutter button halfway to make sure that the subject is in focus. I could depend on it 95% of the times though. Due to the fact that this was my first f1.8 full frame lens, I had a lot of fun playing around with the bokeh and the shallow depth of field when capturing photos of talents, especially portrait shots. With the f1.8 now in my arsenal, I am able to dial down my aperture to a wider setting so I can take in more light. Therefore, I can raise my shutter speed to a higher number and dial down my flash so it doesn't seem too harsh on my subjects. And I love this feature. I love the fact that I finally got an f1.8 lens for my Lumix S5. It's amazing. I will now show you guys some photos that I took with this lens, the Lumix S 85mm f1.8 lens, so you guys can see the quality that it's pushing out directly from the camera, and also some that I've added my own editing and tweaking to those shots. So enjoy. So we've come to the end of another video, guys. You can hit the like button if you liked it, hit the subscribe button if you loved it, and click the bell icon if you want to be notified whenever I release a new video. For the next video, I will be going directly in the field with the Lumix S 85mm f1.8 paired with my Panasonic Lumix S5 to take some photos so you guys can see the real world experience using this lens paired with a Panasonic full-frame camera. I'm not gonna sit in an office and stare at my camera and talk to you guys about the lens. I'm gonna take it in the field to see how it operates and functions in real-world scenarios. I'm Chevaughn Beckford, and stay creative.